Hi, I'm currently weathering my schnees, greaves, my leg parts, and there's a lot of new members to the clan who are sort of catching up with me with their paint jobs and stuff. So I thought, since I'm doing this, I'd show you how I go from clean paint down to heavily weathered and well, my style really. And I do this using Citadel paints, or Warhammer I think they're called now, they've changed their name. So everyone's favourite, Agrax Earthshade and Norn Oil, they're awesome. You get them from Games Workshop. They're initially quite expensive, but a little pot really does go a long way. Agrax is a brown shade, Norn Oil is a black shade. Now for my kit, I'm mostly Agrax. I love the stuff. So I've already started. So far I'm at this stage. My kit is filthy on purpose and heavily damaged. So I want to get from that down to sort of that if I can. There's some more to be done there. So here we go. I'll show you on my clean side. Takes a few layers to get to really dirty, so I start in corners and joints because I'd imagine they're probably going to pick up the most dirt in real life. Okay, so I get my Agrax and I put a fair amount on an old knackered brush, and I just throw a load on in the crevices to start with. Now it's warm at the moment, but generally you have to work quite quickly with these washes and shades because they do want to dry fast. Then what I do is I get a bit of toilet paper or kitchen paper and I just dab it and press it into the joint, and what I start to do is push that shade around and blend it out. So you start to get an initial dirt effect. You can just see it there. I don't use the tissue as a brush because then you'd get streaks, and I'm not after that. I want to sort of try and make this look as naturally dirty as possible. So I just work down the line until I've got to the end of where I am. Now, as I said, it does dry fairly quickly, very quickly if you're just dabbing it like this. So you are under a little bit of time pressure, not much. Also around gouges, cuts and whatnot, I throw a load in there because it's not going to look super shiny on my kit. I've got to keep blending it, and I've got to copy what I've already done, which if any of you have seen my whip thread, nothing is clean, everything is in bad condition, and my poor Mando has had a hard life. So just with one application you can see I've took the shine off the silver paint, so it doesn't look like it's silver paint anymore, and I've made that cut look like it's fairly old. And so I'll just chuck a load more on here and there. Here we go. Now when I'm using the tissue, what's happening is I'm dabbing it around and blending and being fairly vague and general with the application, but what's happening is you're putting a load of the shade onto the tissue, which you can then use and use and use along the way, you see. So it might feel like a waste when you put paint on and then take it off again, but it's all getting used in the end really. You sort of have to figure out what you're looking for in your work. I think when I started this project, in my head I had this Mandalorian who probably lives and works out in the outer rim, away from all the money and the wealth, and he's probably been slogging away, and this is the end result really. He's filthy. Also, I think you have to consider the part you're working on and where its relation into the body and how it might be used. So these are greaves, these are shin parts. They're close to the ground, probably been kneeling down in the muck. So as I go further down this way, they'll probably get dirtier and dirtier until I hit like the boots basically. So that's something you have to consider. If you're working on a perfectly clean Mandalorian costume, good for you. I don't work like that. So getting into those crevices again, I haven't worked down here yet, so I'll just work the lines and then take it off again. It dries kind of shiny looking initially, but what will happen is in no time at all it will dull down, and when you come to put a protective top coat on, if you get a matte one, it'll flatten all this down quite nicely if you've got any shiny spots. So it's pretty forgiving stuff to use. I know you can make washes out of all sorts of things. It's basically just acrylic paint, and if you mix acrylic paint with water, you're probably on the way to making a wash anyway. So if you don't want to spend Games Workshop money on this stuff, there is other ways of doing it. I just find it, since I've started with it, I need to finish with it really. So that's one part. I started on the finish like, sorry about the light, I started on that sort of finish, which is just damage and my top coat, and in no time at all I'm there. I love it. So I think you need multiple applications. You need to sort of layer the muck and the dirt to get it as authentic as possible. This stuff dries super quick, so you can put a new layer on in a couple of minutes and it'll really give it the depth. So I'll leave some stills at the end of this video so you can see the before and after, but basically the technique I find is an old brush, lots of dabbing into all the crevices and stuff, and you get almost instant effects. There you go. So using Agrax Earthshade or Nuln Oil or another wash, you can go from sort of nice and clean and lovely, I don't know who wants that, to been walking through the muck for years, and that takes about, for one piece like that, that'll probably take about 20 minutes. So there you go, down and dirty.